We're now live. So you count it down and then I'll click record, or we'll both click record.
Let me move this thing out from my feet so I can be a little comfier.
Yeah.
Oh, as we strap in for the long haul. All right, mic is positioned, getting sound. And let's go. 3, 2, 1, go. Click on go.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right. We're back.
Damn.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, dear listeners.
Sorry, we went down the rabbit hole, but we're back now to share with you what we've learned.
Yeah, we've been locked deep underground in our special COVID bunker. Just Lana, me, and our pet Patois.
Yes.
Who is a dog,
Not the mole children. Not the mole children who also live under LA. I don't know. We can talk about that later.
Not the Los Angeles mole children, yeah. Unfortunately, where we go one, we go all, but in this case, it was just me and Lana went. But we've emerged from Plato's cave, packed with new knowledge, fully enlightened, and ready to drop some major truth bombs on your trashy ears.
Yeah, we are awake, as they say.
Yeah, I'm basically trusting the plan, and it's feeling pretty good, I'm going to tell you what.
Yeah, it's
coming. How funny would it be if it's not obvious from people who aren't more tapped into the lingo, this episode is going to be about QAnon.
Hell yeah.
How funny would it be if we didn't do an episode for several months, and then when we came back, we were just very sincerely Q-pilled?
That's not what's happening now?
Oh man.
Yeah, I actually have a top security clearance, and I am authorized to divulge some information here.
Yeah, a few people know
live
this
on
about
YouTube.
Us, but both Lana and I have Q-level security clearance. We actually have double.
In the Department of Energy, of course, because that is where you get Q-level security clearances. So
I personally have double D-level security clearance.
Oh!
Which entitles me to big naturals.
Must be nice.
Hey, it ain't much, but it's a living.
All right, so yeah.
Should we talk any current of? Oh, go ahead.
I'm Lana. I guess I'm an anthropologist, although no one respects me as one, I guess. We can get into that too.
Wait, has someone disrespected you as an anthropologist?
Yeah, my Q-pilled cousin was.
Oh, fuck.
was trying to tell me about how the Aztecs also drink blood and stuff, and I was like, okay, yeah.
I was gonna ask you if we could bring up your Q-pilled cousin or if it was too sensitive. I'm glad we got it out of the way.
Yeah, we can. I love her. We're dedicating this episode to her, and maybe she'll give it a listen. I'm not here to talk down to anyone because I really truly do despise being talked down to myself.
Certainly.
We're just here to wake you up.
Yeah, I mean, I really do want to say at the very beginning that I have no intention to talk down or even look down on people who are involved with QAnon or become Q-pilled. Because I know it's a lot of fun and it's kind of easy. A lot of the media that talks about them is kind of in this very glib fashion where they're look at these fucking weirdos. But let me tell you right off at the top, there but for the grace of God go you, dear listener. How easy it could be to lose touch and become one of them.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot, a running theme that I see just on the internet in general is that everyone thinks that they're the most woke and know so much more than everyone else, and that they also have the best morals and that they're the most ethical. So anyways,
unlike us, who of course actually know everything about everything.
Exactly.
Which is why you're listening to this beloved show. Oh, I am Woody. Trashpup.com, no more. Trash Pup is dead. Long live Trash Pup.
I should tell you something that I actually kind of stole your username and resurrected it with a rebrand on TikTok, and my account name is Trash Pup Patois, and I only post dog content.
I support this. I sign off on this licensing.
Thank you. Cool.
Yeah, it's fun. Over the course of this show, from when we started it to now, we've both committed a sort of symbolic suicide in our own turn.
Yeah.
We are now simply Lana and Woody.
Yeah.
You are simple friends and guides through the world of signs, symbols, and ancient knowledge.
Yes.
Before we get started on QAnon, any contemporary events we should talk about? A lot has happened since last we recorded.
Yeah.
Hot take on the debate? It sucked. Boring.
It was too cringe. I kept trying to listen to it, and I could make it about 30 seconds before I had to turn it off because I was just absolutely cringing too hard.
It was honestly extremely cringe is the correct line on it. It's just I wish there was something insightful or interesting I could say about it, but there just really truly is not. It was just one big cringe fest.
I can't start talking about this because then I'm gonna start sounding crazy, and everyone's just not gonna get to all the meat and bones of what we need to talk about today. So let's table the presidential elections for the moment.
Yeah. Forget all of that stuff. Except for Trump, he's gonna come back up. He's kind of a central figure in this whole thing.
Yes.
Which is one of the funniest parts of QAnon, I'm not gonna
lie. Let's see. I'll say this. I've been sober for 3 months.
Wow.
That's great.
Good
yeah. And I think this is the first time I'm recording the pod sober. So
very strange.
I hope you like it.
I'm not meeting you on that level. I'm drinking a beer as we speak.
Good. We can't both be sober. Yeah.
A little treat for the video listeners to see what kind it is.
Cool.
How are you feeling? You feel clear?
No, I feel like I'm going fucking insane because everyone is insane. But I'm glad I have a dog. I'm really thankful for my dog. He keeps me grounded, and we go on lots of walks, so that's good. That's
clutch. I moved house, and the people I'm living with now have 2 cats.
That's good.
And it's very. Do you have the YouTube video sound on in the background? I'm hearing an echo of myself.
Oh, it's probably from this. I'll turn you down here. How's that?
Hello. Okay, yeah, perfect. Where were we? Sobriety.
You have 2 cats. You have new roommates.
I love to see them. I love to think about them.
Yeah, I used my Trump bucks to buy this dog, and excellent ROI, great for my mental health. I hope we get more Trump bucks. And
yeah. I was really hoping that if the debate went badly enough, he would have to or if Trump really drops in the polls, he might push more Trump bucks in late October as a political Hail Mary.
I still think that he will send out Trump bucks, and honestly, it's the smartest thing that he could do just buy our votes.
Yeah, just buy it. Just buy the vote. Give me some more money, please.
I've seen a lot of leftists selling their votes online, which they're kind of funny.
Very funny. I like that a lot.
I like it too.
I'll vote for Biden for $200.
That's your price? I don't know if I don't know. We can't talk about this because I will lose it. Okay.
Right. Buckling down.
Yeah, buckling down now. All right, so let's talk about it. What is QAnon? For the listeners at home, give us a breakdown of it. When did it start? Where did it start? What is it?
It's so hard to really say what QAnon is, because at this point it's become so much. It's like a community, it's a lore, but like the easiest way I think to start is it all starts with Pizzagate, right? So Pizzagate, after the WikiLeaks of the Podesta emails, internet people, I think probably coming out of 4chan as the heart of it, starts decoding what's in the Podesta emails and picking up on like these repeated signs and symbols, especially references to things like pizza, hot dogs, spaghetti, and the conclusion they come to, long story short, is that within the Podesta emails are a secret language and secret sign system that reveals that the elites of Washington, D.C. are in fact involved in a massive pedophile cabal that has roots in Comet Ping Pong, a pizza place in Washington, D.C. So that's sort of like origin stories, Pizzagate.
Well, so I just want to add that yes, it did start on 4chan, and my question was like, how did they decide that pizza means like pedophile cabal? Like, how do you make that jump? And so the answer is that on 4chan, cheese pizza, because abbreviated it's CP, it stands for child pornography.
Yeah.
So this was already like a code that was used on 4chan, ironically.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, that's maybe the deep irony of all of this, is that 4chan and then 8chan, the homes of where Q posts, are like, the whole reason 8chan even existed is because 4chan was cracking down too hard on posts on child pornography.
Right.
They needed a place where they could exchange child porn in a more libertarian atmosphere.
Yeah, so and I wasn't able to find out like why, like they think that there's like walnuts means like people of color and sauce means orgy. Walnut sauce. Yeah, I'm not sure how they got there.
There's a whole sign system. I will admit that like when you look at the emails they've like picked out as like signs and codes, it's like they're kind of weird and wonky.
They're weird.
It's like Obama being like, we're bringing $65,000 worth of pizza and hot dogs, special in from Chicago. Can we use the normal channels? But yeah, I think the immediate, there is a big, you really tell on yourself right at the beginning, in that you decide that pizza is jumping off of existing 4chan slang for child pornography.
Right. Yeah, there was one really weird email that I kind of wanted to read, but it's fine. It was the handkerchief email. We can get back to
the handkerchief one. What is it, like the handkerchief? We found the handkerchief that has a map or something like that.
Yeah, it's a map, like a map of pizzas. It's like the weirdest, like I've never heard anything like this. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
So Podesta, how about you just come forward and tell us what you mean by pizzas? What's the deal with the pizzas?
Yeah, come on, Podesta. Let's get to the bottom line. Is a pizza just a pizza?
Yeah, and so I also want to say that these emails were like incredibly incriminating. It proved that the Democrats rat fucked Bernie in 2016, just like they did this year.
Yeah, that was something else that came out of those leaked emails.
Yeah. So they were right to like look at the emails. The emails full of some good information. All right, continue.
So anyway, we begin with Pizzagate, the fertile ground from which QAnon will possibly grow. Not much kind of came out of it. There's a bit of a furor. One guy actually went to Comet Ping Pong with a AK-47 and a revolver trying to find the secret basement where they kept the kids. And he
No
didn't really
basement.
find, there's no basement. There's literally not a basement to the building. I was reading this article about him today, and there was this line that literally made me laugh out loud. What the fuck was it? He said something about like, crap, I closed all of it. It was an interview with him from afterwards, and he said like, the intel was not 100% on that.
Fair. That's fair.
Even there wasn't a pedophile cabal under the, so like, you know,
they also, part of like the whole fascination with Comet Ping Pong was that their logo apparently had like what was deemed by these people on 4chan to be satanic symbolism, which is just like two half moons and two stars.
It was their pizza logo had what is considered the like a pedophile symbol for boy lovers, which is like a series of concentric triangles.
That too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's another thing of it that started like a big part of. I don't know if we said it on mic or before the show, but like a big part of QAnon is like cracking codes and finding symbols. And a lot of this, there was like either I think it was an FBI report on like the symbols that pedophiles use to communicate with each other. And it's like a series of concentric triangles is boy lover, like a heart within a heart is a girl lover. And it's like, so they start seeing these symbols everywhere and they're like, oh my God, it's right in front of our faces. The pedophiles are just like communicating with each other. And it's like, well, maybe it's just that a triangle within a triangle is not like that complicated of a symbol to like think when you're trying to do like rudimentary graphic design.
Maybe they're onto something. Although I will say that right. if like the FBI leaked this like code, like symbolism that pedophiles use, don't you think that they would move on to new and different symbols?
Yeah. Also, I thought we weren't supposed to trust the 3-letter agencies. Isn't that what Q said? He says, why military generals? Why go around the 3-letter agencies? FBI, CIA, EPA.
I mean, see, like they're not all wrong. All right.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be one of the running themes of the show is that like, it'll be some controversial at first, but we're going to back it up. QAnon is maybe like 65% right. And then the last 35% is wrong.
Wow, that's a sizable portion. Okay.
I think they're over half right about a lot of things.
Okay.
But anyway, even just this is only scratching the surface of Pizzagate. Pizzagate has its own deep lore. It involves Maria Abramovic, the famous performance artist, as some kind of like devil worshipping soul kitchener. And because there was like an email between her and Podesta, and it's like literally it's just because he donated money to her foundation, probably as a way to launder his own dirty money, as all charity is ultimately, to hide wealth from taxes. But anyway, Pizzagate. Yeah. Fast forward 2016, Trump wins the election. 2017, a mysterious post appears on 4chan for the first time, signed a cryptic message signed with the initial Q with a very particular trip code. I can't remember what the first Q message is, but it's something about Hillary Clinton being arrested soon. The storm is coming, yada, yada, yada. And then as this poster on 4chan, originally 4chan, eventually migrating to 8chan, continues to post these cryptic revelations. The lore that starts to build is that, Lana, are you still here?
I'm back now. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. The lore that starts to build is it's always the same trip code, which when you're posting on the chans, if you have like a specific password, the trip code is a code of numbers and letters that can, even though everything's anonymous, you can tell it's the same person posting over and over again. Q, they believe, is someone within the deep state who is telling on the deep state like a traitor. And what he's basically communicating through these posts very, very cryptically is that the various like deep state enemies of Donald Trump are on the verge of being indicted and arrested. Something big is coming. There's some big awakening. The storm
I too
is
am
coming.
waiting for Hillary Clinton to be arrested.
Yeah, it's been 4 years, Trump. That was your main campaign promise. Are you gonna lock her up or what, buddy?
All these politicians are liars and thieves. Imagine that.
You really can't trust anyone in this crazy world.
But we can trust Q. He wouldn't lie to us.
Except for Q, he would never lie to us. So that's sort of thus is born Q. And from these posts, the function of the way the queue works, interestingly enough, I found out there was just 3 people who are sort of responsible for the spread of Q outside of the chants. Like it could have very easily been this niche thing, just like a weird post on 4chan. Everyone calls it fake and gay. Everyone moves on with their lives. But it sparked something for some reason. It started connecting with people. And then I don't remember the names, but there's these 3, one of them was a YouTuber and 2 of them were mods on 4chan itself, I think, who it clicked with them for some reason and they started pushing it. It starts to gain popularity on 4chan and 8chan, gains popularity on Reddit, gains popularity on YouTube, and next thing you know, there's a whole vibrant community of people doing the research, going down the rabbit hole.
This word research, I feel like, has almost been like ruined.
Yeah, well, that's something I definitely wanted to like really take a second to hammer home. Is like so much of QAnon is about like don't trust what you're told, do your own research. But it's like the quote unquote research is just watch YouTube videos and like go on websites.
It's so funny. Well, it's like not even go on websites. It's like go into like QAnon groups. Like people have lost the ability to like think critically about things, you know, and ask questions like, oh, like why, or like who would benefit from this being true or false, or like, you know, I don't know, or like maybe even look at the fucking sources.
Well, you know, you can't trust any of the sources because they're all, you know, corrupted in one way or another.
Yes, the only information that we can trust must come from an infographic on Instagram. This is the news source of my news.
Well, no, as good liberals, we know to trust the Instagram infographic.
Right.
QAnon people, you trust a website that was built on Angel Fire, where they'll also tell you why aliens helped kill JFK. Yeah. What I love, what has been fascinating, I've had sort of like a fascination with QAnon stuff for a while. And one of the things that I find so interesting about it is the way that it's sort of become like the king conspiracy theory, you know, almost like a very heavy space in the discourse that is just drawing everything else to it.
Well, it's very good at like world building. I really think it's like this massive online role playing game.
Yes.
And you could literally believe in like one of any of these conspiracies and then get sucked into this world. And for instance, like, so my cousin like I should have asked her, I'm like, are you Q-pilled? And she's like, Q-pilled? And I'm like, like she doesn't know what QAnon means, but she believes in satanic ritual abuse and that like there are Hollywood pedophiles and like the media is this like evil cabal and there's like a big struggle between good and evil, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, yeah, it contains almost every conspiracy now. Like it has an answer to the JFK assassination, you know. The CIA killed him because he was trying to fight the cabal. And now John JFK Jr. had to fake his own death and now is going to like reveal himself after the awakening. It contains like, yeah, it ate Pizzagate. It ate like the satanic ritual abuse that was like big in the 80s.
Yeah, the Satanic Panic like rebrand.
It's totally a Satanic Panic rebrand.
And actually, isn't it just like a Elders of Zion like type of like anti-Semitic like rebrand?
Yeah.
Of, like George Soros is like at the top, and
it's, I mean, because like, you know, the classic, you know, Elders of Zion is like one of the classic conspiracy theories, but also just sort of like the whole New World Order concept. It almost usually includes like the Elders of Zion and like Jewish bankers in the top. I was kind of interested though. Maybe I should do like a quick run over of like the lore before, because that was kind of the history of like where did Q come from, how did it spread, but like what is the message of Q? What is like, and so like the lore of Q in a nutshell is that the elites of the world, so at the tip top, like the Rothschilds, George Soros, the Rockefellers, you know, the people who are almost always Bilderberger Group, Bohemian Grove, the people who are almost always at the tip top of conspiracy theories that involve like a new world order of some sort are up at the top. And then, you know, the various politicians and celebrities and people that are their lackeys below are all involved in this global cabal of satanic worship for power. And the main function of this cabal, one of their main practices, is that they are kidnapping, trafficking, torturing, raping, and murdering children, specifically because they want to drink their blood in order to gain power and remain young in their satanic worship. Because there's an idea of this thing called adrenochrome, which I think is lifted directly out of
a Hollywood movie.
Well, no, it's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It was something Hunter S. Thompson made up.
I thought it came before that.
Adrenochrome doesn't exist. I mean, it might come from before that. That's like my first exposure to that term. But anyway, according to the lore, when you kill a child under duress, in fear and pain, their blood is rich with the adrenochrome, and this is what those the Hollywood sickos and all of them use to live forever and be powerful.
So it is a real chemical compound.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Does it actually work like a drug though, or?
Yeah, it says in popular culture, the Doors of Perception mentions the discovery and the alleged effects of adrenochrome, which Aldous Huxley likened to the symptoms of mescaline intoxication.
So it's sort of like a question mark whether it's a real thing. People kind of talk about it. But anyway, this might sound pretty dark, but ladies and gentlemen, there is a ray of hope, and that ray of golden hope with his golden hair is named Donald John Trump. The one man who has the chutzpah and the cajones necessary to stand up to the cabal. He got himself elected president in order that he could fight the deep state and bring about the Great Awakening.
Drain the swamp.
He's going to drain the swamp.
I'm still waiting for him to drain the swamp.
Yeah, the sort of legend of what's supposed to happen is there's thousands and thousands of secret indictments sealed, and they're going to unseal the indictments. They're going to arrest all the sickos, and then, you know, 1,000 glorious years of peace on earth. We won't have money anymore.
Well, don't they think that everyone is going to be like imprisoned in Guantanamo Bay?
Well, the sickos, yeah, at first they'll be imprisoned, and then they'll all be executed.
Okay.
A sort of deeply violent fantasy about killing your enemies is integral part of Q.
And this is why there's so many cops that are like really into Q, because like the entire lore like is all about locking people up.
Yeah, it's
and
very
like
carceral.
murdering them, like state sanctioned executions.
Yeah, but this is like what's key to it. One of the keys to it is how, like, if it sounds like a religious movement, it's because it is.
Yeah.
Like, the promise of the Great Awakening is like some book of Revelations shit, where afterwards the world is perfect. It's going to be utopia. We'll return to Eden, basically, because we get rid of, like, it's a battle of good versus evil, and good will win.
This is called millenarianism, by the way.
Oh, really? Wait, what is millenarianism?
It's a belief by a religious, social, or political group or movement in a coming fundamental transformation of society, after which all things will be changed. This is like the liberal belief that like if Trump is voted out of office, like everything will be like peace will be restored, COVID will go away, we will all be saved.
That's true. Those idiots in QAnon think that you arrest the sickos and everything's great. We good liberals know that you vote for Joe Biden and everything will be perfect forever.
Yeah.
How much more clever are we?
The very minimum requirement of a religion, or like what we would anthropologically like define as a religion, is just kind of a demarcation, a separation between what is sacred and what is profane, which QAnon is like very, very explicit. And like there is a battle for good and evil. Like evil is, this, and like good is like Donald Trump and Q and us good people saving the children.
The white hats. I really got blown away. I went up camping in Mount Shasta like a month or so ago, and I was like getting a cup of coffee somewhere in town, and there was this guy sitting at a table talking to someone, and he was just like spouting off Q lore. And one of the things is there's within the military, there's the white hats and the black hats. And the white hats are the good guys who are on Trump's side and they're going to help. And the black hats are the bad guys who are trying to get dealt with. And that terminology comes from, in cheesy old Westerns, all of the good guys wear white cowboy hats and all the bad guys wear black cowboy hats.
Wow. Cool.
So yeah, Trump, Q, the white hats, they're going to save us from the sickos when the storm comes.
Yeah. And the media, of course, is evil.
Yes.
They're not to be trusted. And the fact that QAnon things are deleted off social media is proof of its veracity.
Yeah. Well, it's because the media is a tool of the cabal.
Yes.
Of course.
Which, like, I will say that in the Podesta emails, one of my favorite emails was about how to combat Bernie, they had like already spoken to several media outlets who are going to run stories about how bad he is. So
well, like this is one of the things, like, as we go through, I will back up my argument that they're about 65% right and then the last 35% is off the rails. This is one of the ones where they're really close. And in order to research this episode, dear listeners who I love so much, I watched the entire 3-hour documentary Fall of the Cabal, which is an explainer video, and then on QAnon, and then as an addendum watched Out of the Shadows, a second documentary on Pizzagate. And what was amazing to me watching these things is how often they start with a objective observation of things that are in fact true. They're fucked up, but they're true. And with the media, the thing that was mentioned in both of these documentaries is that there are four companies that own all of media as a totality. It's like Disney, GE, and like two fucking others. I can't remember the last two off the top of my head. And it's like, that is 100% true.
Yes.
all of the channels on television, all of the movie studios are owned in totality by a total of 4 parent companies. So do with that information what you will.
Yeah, this reminds me about how the LA Times just the other day like apologized for their long history of racism. But actually what's funny is that the reason, like how I found out about my cousin is because she came here a couple months ago, and we're driving in LA, and I just like start going off about how basically telling her about like the information that's presented in the culture industry chapter that we read, you know, saying like the media is like fucked up, like they're just like the mouthpiece of capital, like it's like these constant narratives that are just like seeking to reinforce capitalism. Disney is fucking evil, blah blah blah, like racist creeps. And then my cousin's like, oh my god, I have a documentary you need to see, like you're gonna be obsessed with this, it's so good. And then like we go home and she puts on Out of the Shadows.
Oh wait, did she actually put on Out of the Shadows?
Yeah, she like thought that that's what I was talking about.
That's wild too, because Out of the Shadows was like almost 2 hours. It was like an hour and a half long. It's
Yeah.
like, you gotta watch this.
Yeah, like in the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, this sounds like some Pizzagate bullshit. And she's like, oh, I should turn this off. And I'm like, no.
Let it go.
Let it
So
run,
wait,
let it run.
this is good. This is totally gonna be alienating to the audience, but how funny was the dude's voice? Who was like the stunt guy who's like leading you through Out of the Shadows?
I don't remember his voice, to be honest.
He's
But
got this great dumb guy voice that's kind of like, I was a stuntman in Hollywood, California, but I started to realize something was going on.
yeah, and then they come to the conclusion that there's like all this satanic like symbolism, like Lady Gaga is like in the cabal because she uses satanic symbolism, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, like this stuff is, it like looks cool, like it's aesthetic, like what's wrong with Satan?
Well, it's Lady Gaga was recruited by Maria Abramovic, and she is like the #1 Satanist. And
Right. Yeah.
I read an interview with her in the New York Times today, and I feel so bad for her.
Maria. Oh, mm-hmm.
Because she's like,
why?
She's just a really cool, like legitimately very interesting and good artist that like has made a lot of cool shit, who has become like this fixation by this group. And like she says she gets death threats like multiple times a day. Whenever she has exhibitions, they're like protested. It's just,
oh yeah, these
sucks.
people are digital soldiers. We haven't gotten
They really are.
we haven't gotten to the part yet where they all take the oath, like that.
I didn't know there was an oath.
Oh yeah, there's like so many videos. Fucking Michael Flynn did this. So they just repeat the oath that like anyone who assumes that like a government office has to take. Like I pledge to like uphold the Constitution, blah blah blah. But at the end, instead of saying like their position, you know, like I'm like assuming like XYZ position or a general position, whatever, they say that they're assuming the position of digital soldier. And then the last thing they say is where we go when we go off. I wish I was making this shit up.
That's very good. I like that. Yeah, where we go when we go all. Q within his like.
Oh no, my
his
internet.
Q drops. You're kind of fritzing out.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
I'm back. Sorry. I think that they're listening to us and they keep cutting out my internet.
We're getting too close to the truth.
Yeah.
So what I was gonna say is, if there's a way that, like, the practice of QAnon at its heart, where the origins is, Q does a post which is called a drop, a Q drop. They're vague. They're also called crumbs. And then there's a whole, what I like to think of as the clerical class within the religion of QAnon, because the Q drops are like the sacred texts, you know.
These are like the Brahmins that are interpreting the sacred text.
Exactly.
The Brahmin class.
The drops themselves, and what's kind of the magic of Q and what makes it so tempting is the vagueness of the drops themselves. They're so open to interpretation that there's that sort of astrological effect that they're almost always proved true, because you can manipulate the facts to match the theory. But also, so there's a clerical class.
He's correct.
Of course. They're called, like, I think they're called the bakers. Isn't that the term they use?
That makes sense.
The bakers take the proofs, like you proof a loaf of bread, and they interpret them to what they mean. And then, of course, you know, as with any religion, there's liturgical debates of, is this interpretation correct? Is it not correct? Things get added on as it goes, and then it's disseminated to the sort of the more followers, you know, people who are just on the Facebook groups or something. They're not deep within
the moms, the moms and all the new age influencers.
They're not within breathing the sacred vapors of the cave that is 8chan and 8kun.
Yeah, and then the digital soldiers to disseminate the message, and then you have the foot soldiers that go out and destroy the 5G towers.
I think that we can't credit QAnon too much. I think that was David Icke's fault, who we talked about in the coronavirus conspiracy theory episode.
Oh, it's definitely like part of Q.
It's wrapped in. Well, that's an interesting aspect of it, is since the pandemic has started, like, it's skyrocketed. You know, like, it's been kind of like a force, kind of like niche, since it started in 2017. But like, as of like the pandemic starting, interest in QAnon and like people who are adherents of Q is exploded.
Too many people are online.
Yeah, too many people are online. And I think what I think QAnon is at its like very heart is a deep lack of trust in traditional sources of authority.
Yeah.
Right? You don't trust the media, you don't trust the politicians. It arises from like a deep alienation. And what has the effect of the pandemic been, if not A, deeper alienation, but B, just sort of like this showing that the emperor has no clothes, this sort of undercutting of like medical authorities, government authorities, that creates a prime ground for like QAnon. This is my thing for this episode, is a lot of people, if you want to ask like what can be done about QAnon, a lot of people want to focus on QAnon itself. But my argument is that QAnon is just a seed. You know, the drops are just a seed. The ideology is just a seed. What we have to think about is the ground that it grows in. We have to think about the conditions that allow it to flourish. Much like my favorite imperial Japanese propaganda, that though Buddhism came from India, only in the fertile soil of the peaceful Japanese mind could it truly bloom into the beautiful orchid of Zen.
Buddhism, that's Chinese erasure. We don't need to go down this, rabbit hole. But
if there's one thing that Imperial Japan loved, it was erasing the Chinese.
Yeah, funny that they like stole Chinese characters and literally all their culture. Whatever. We're not here to bash the Japanese either. But it's funny that you bring up Buddhism, because actually this, like, Q feels very like Buddhist to me, and I follow this one model from LA who's like obsessed with Tibetan Buddhism, and she's also fucking Q pilled to the gills. And that's not a coincidence. And I'll also say something that I learned recently, which is that the Nazis went on a pilgrimage to Tibet in the late 1930s to essentially, like, the point was to go, and they wanted to prove that Tibetan priests and also the Brahmin class from India were descendants of Aryans.
Yeah.
So they went and measured some skulls.
Well, the Nazis
see it.
in general had like a really deep interest in the occult.
Yeah.
Things about like there were, as part of the Nazi war machine, there were like Nazi wizards, basically magicians who were like attempting to practice black magics. They were interested in these like occult theories of like the origins of men and like the origins of power and stuff. And so,
yeah, they
like,
also loved astrology, which is telling.
Yeah, they used astrology to plan when to do the blitzkriegs. Probably, I made that up, but if you checked it, it's probably true.
Fuck, I just realized that I forgot to turn off the air conditioning and the fan. It's been a long time since I've podcasted. Hopefully this audio isn't terrible. But anyways, all right.
That'll be good.
So
if it's too bad, I can like cut it out of your audio.
Oh yeah. Cool. So okay, I have a question, which is, I don't know if you've heard about this, but there's what's called the Bernie to QAnon pipeline.
Oh, bullshit, my ass.
I mean, this could be a liberal conspiracy, but I did hear this on the QAnon Anonymous podcast, which is very good, but clearly they're liberals, so who knows. But it seems that they've told several stories of QAnon influencers who went from being Bernie supporters to now just fully pilled.
I mean, it fits into my theory, right? That it's like I was working on the metaphor of like the seed in the ground is, the ground is hearing the theory, hearing the ideology, but I mean the seed is hearing the ideology. The ground is alienation, distrust, a sort of like
disenfranchisement,
yeah, an unwillingness to believe or trust traditional narratives and traditional sources of authority. And this is my big thing, is why at the beginning I was saying we can't make fun of the QAnons, because every single Q-pilled person is a failure of the left. That ground, that same ground of alienation, disenfranchisement, should be the fertile ground from which communism can grow.
Like class consciousness. Like, we're so close to class consciousness, but like somewhere, like someone just took the wrong turn onto like the satanic highway, and now all of a sudden it's all like Satanism.
It just skews. Well, because this is like, what does QAnon have in it for the people who believe it? Like, what does it give them? What is like the reward of believing in this ideology? And first off, it's fun.
Yeah, because they're literally LARPing. It's like they're in a world, an immersive world.
Like watching all of these videos about like making all of these connections between like royal families and finding the signs and the symbols. What it felt like is the fucking Da Vinci Code, but B, like, it's National Treasure with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally like a fucking movie. It's the first conspiracy theory I think that's like serialized. Right? There's like drops every week.
It grows, it changes, it's very organic.
Yeah,
that's something that is really like particularly interesting about it, I think, is a lot of sort of right-wing movements like the Tea Party or like the anti-mask, anti-quarantine protests are very like astroturfed. Like we talked about on that other episode, it's like you dig a little bit and you find like, oh, there's a lot of like Koch brothers money and like horse shit going on. It's like not really organic, but like QAnon is entirely organic.
I don't think so. Those three people that you mentioned at the beginning, like they directly profited off of spreading QAnon to new platforms.
Yeah, but
also money has been like put into, like, this is all part of this is totally part of like some social dilemma type shit. Like, also, I swear, like Facebook is for sure profiting off of people spending all like Facebook profits when people spend more time on Facebook, right?
That's true.
Who's gonna spend the most time on Facebook is Q-pilled people in QAnon groups. So they're like, they love it.
Well, it's interesting because you know, Facebook, it doesn't matter about the content, it's just circulation, whatever, like keeps people's butts in the seats, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, sure, like a lot of people are like lining their pockets along the way, you know, but it's not like these big moneyed interests are like pushing QAnon in order to advance their own interests.
Yeah, it's not like the Koch brothers like giving mass amounts of money to economics departments at universities so they can like continue spewing this neoliberal like free market bullshit.
Well,
God,
it's
makes me so
also,
angry.
it's not the Koch brothers creating like a bunch of like shadow puppet organizations that are like in turn sending money to like Tea Party political candidates and stuff that are like pushing their agenda. It's like in that case, it's very clear that it's like there's this dark money kind of operating that is like the reason this thing exists. Whereas with QAnon, it's like, yeah, a lot of people are like using it maybe cynically to cash in and cash out, especially those early influencers that like got theirs. But no one needed to, it has a power in itself.
Right.
It holds people for some reason. Like most people who get radicalized into Q, if you ask them, it's like their cousin told them, or like, you know, their friend or like their brother told them, and then like they did some research and like now they're Q-pilled also.
Some research, yeah. The other thing is like you don't actually have to like sit down and read like a hard book. I mean, I also think that part of the problem with the left is that there's like all this insistence on like you have to read Marx to like be fully woke. If that's the case, then like we will never win. Like like workers will never have rights if we can't explain to workers why it's in their interest to have rights. You know, like without Marx.
We need cooler YouTube videos.
Yeah, it's just like now it's just been co-opted by academics and I don't know, whatever. Anyways.
Yeah, academic leftism. That's a problem, folks. We're part of the problem. We love it. We love it, don't we? Don't we, folks? We love to losing guitar. We want to talk about them.
I mean, we're like awakening. We're waking up here, so.
We certainly are. Oh, where were we going? What were we on? What were we talking about?
I
lost the thread.
Oh, dark money, and like there's no one directly profiting off of this. It's developed its own life force.
Yeah, and that's an interesting question. Where do we go from here?
You know, like, I kind of want to just point out some of the similarities between like QAnon beliefs and like what I would call liberal brain.
Wait, before we get into that, do you think QAnon is dangerous? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's been proven to be dangerous. Like, a lot of QAnon people, okay, so there have been like multiple reports, for instance, of people who lose their children to child protective services and then like get Q-pilled and decide that their kids in like foster care are like being abused, which honestly foster care is bad.
They probably are getting abused, yeah.
Yeah, and so then
not by the cabal though.
They like go and steal their children.
Damn.
Or like I heard this one fucking guy, this was in June, he like got pilled and literally within 5 days was like live streaming a high-speed chase. Like he was being chased by the police with his children in the car, talking about how Q will save him.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, like, if COVID is a hoax, is like and like lockdowns are about, and all of that is like wrapped up into this, then yeah, that is dangerous. Furthermore, this whole co-optation of the Save the Children hashtag, which Save the Children is actually like a legitimate
Yeah.
organization with like a legitimate hotline. It's like when the whole Wayfair thing went viral on TikTok and Twitter, you have all these Zoomers calling the hotline, and then people who actually need help are not able to get help because there are not enough resources there to deal with the influx of false fact or false, I don't know, information coming through. And it's a huge distraction from like the whole idea of like, oh, 800,000 children go missing every year. Actually, a lot of that is like, for instance, a spouse will take a child. Like, so let's say the husband takes the child and then the wife like calls and reports the child being lost. Like that sort of like familial like conflict, that counts as a lost child, even if the child and the husband like come back the next day. And a lot of this like child trafficking also includes homeless kids, and the
Yeah.
proper like structural systemic fixes that could actually fix this problem are not going to happen when people are so hyper focused on like mole children, adrenochrome, like, you know, satanic cabal.
I mean,
But yeah, I do think it's dangerous.
It's almost like a banal thing people have pointed out at this point. Is it's what's weird about QAnon is like, you want to know where children are being trafficked, disappeared, and abused is ICE camps on the border. But like, that's never a part of it. Where they're not talking about like those kids.
Yeah. You know, also, I'll just say this because it's relevant that last night I was reading Joe Biden's like plan for how to deal with ICE in these detention camps, which opened when he was vice president, by the way. So he like in the first line of the plan, it's like, it is a moral imperative that, you know, it's like morally and ethically unright to have these child detention centers open. That's the only time that he mentions the children in this entire plan. Then he goes on. So his fix is to stop private detention centers, which yes, that's 70% of the detention centers. Like ICE just contracts it out, but that means that they will continue to stay open and they'll just be run by the federal government. Like that's his fix. So
thanks, Biden.
Yeah.
Good fix.
Good fix.
But I asked that question because I think that it definitely has danger in it, but it's not dangerous in the way people think it is. I think. Because what's interesting about another interesting aspect of QAnon is it's a spectator sport. You're not supposed to do anything. Like the people, there was that guy who like held up the Hoover Dam, was like asked him to release Hillary Clinton's emails. Like those people are doing it wrong, because the thing the Q says over and over again is trust the plan, you know, enjoy the show, he says. And the plan is that all you have to do, you know, there's all this bad stuff that's happening, but all you have to do is believe and sit back, and Donald Trump is going to take care of everything. You don't have to do anything. Trust the plan.
You have to be a digital soldier.
Yeah, you gotta do research. You gotta watch a lot of YouTube videos.
And then proselytize and convert people. But no, there's like there are Q politicians too. We're about to have a Q congressperson. Hell yeah.
Well, this is where I think it starts to get dangerous, is Q is not going to go away when Donald Trump goes away. And as it is now, I honestly don't think it's as dangerous as a lot of people seem to think it is. But like what it morphs into without Donald Trump is very potentially, that's where we might start seeing some serious shit. Because yeah, like you said, there have been at least 34 people who have run for congressional seats that are openly Q-pilled. And I think 2 actually won their primaries, and so in 2020 we will see if we will get our first Q-pilled congressman.
I think it's looking like we're going to get at least 1.
I think they're both women, if I'm not mistaken. Both
Yeah,
of the ones that actually won their primary.
There's a huge place for women in this movement. Lots of moms. Yeah,
because
it's
so much
all
of
inclusive.
so much of like the libidinal heart of it is the protection of innocence, right? The horror of it is that children are being violated in this way.
Also,
I find when people talk about QAnon, like people who are in QAnon, they don't talk about the power aspects as much. They don't talk about the New World Order. Like I was really having a hard time figuring out what is the end goal of the cabal, like what they want, or like who is really at the top. What is said over and over again is they focus in on the visceral aspect of the children, you know, the way children are harmed, the way children are mistreated. It's this like this visceral libidinal response to like the idea of innocence and harming of innocence.
I mean, it's why Law and Order SVU is the most popular Law and Order, and women. I believe that women are the bulk of the viewership there. Also, aren't women like the bulk of the viewership for like true crime?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think
100%
it's like related. Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, now my internet connection is unstable. I would say it's definitely related. And it's like I think there's this double whammy of like libidinal regard to QAnon is A, solving all the puzzles, this like game that you're playing, very fun, feels cool. I'm seeing the symbols. When I let my brain rest in Q space, for one thing, it's just like stuff like pizza just pops up all over the place. Like I saw this Instagram post that I sent you that was Miley Cyrus eating a piece of pizza, and she captioned the post, "I didn't actually eat the pizza, I threw it in the trash." And it was like, my Q brain is like, what is Miley telling us? You know, she was a child actor in Hollywood. Is she trying to reveal the sickos? You know, I got to crack this code. That's fun. It's fun to do. And then the second whammy you get is like imagining all of that bad stuff is jouissance. It's pure enjoyment of just like, oh, like a horror movie, what they're doing to those kids. I hate to think about it. They're torturing them and they're killing them. But I'm going to think about it for the next 13 hours, not sleep.
That's my brain thinking about the Democrats.
Which is a good, give me liberal brain.
All right. Okay. So of course that we know that like according to QAnon, Trump is a savior, right? And
the golden boy.
Liberal brain says that Orange Man is literally the devil, worst president ever to exist, and essentially both of these mindsets are doomer type mindsets, right? But one thinks that Trump will save the country, while the other thinks that if Trump gets reelected, like literally the end of times will happen.
We'll literally be living in Nazi Germany.
Yeah, and if you don't vote for Joe Biden, then you're like racist scum and you're part of the problem, and
democracy itself will end.
Yeah, yes. God. All right, then the next is, okay, so in the QAnon world, they think that celebrities are evil lizard people, right?
Of course.
But according to the liberal brain, they fucking love celebrities, like will stand and simp for them all fucking day long. They love when celebrities tell them to go vote. Literally have such a hard on for that.
In this new video, watch the cast of Hamilton make a cool rap about voting for Biden.
Oh my god, that makes me feel ill.
Before you keep going with the QAnon liberal brain thing, it's really, the format of it is really reminding me of, have you ever heard of Yakov Smirnov?
No.
He was this comedian in the 80s who came from Russia, and his whole thing was he'd be like, in the Soviet, in America, they do this thing. In Soviet Union, car drive you.
Nice. Same
Yeah. And
energy.
QAnon brain.
Yeah, so like
Next point.
Q brain, hatred for the fake lion media, and most politicians. Whereas liberal brain, standing and simping for all the journalists, literally like watching CNN with like the biggest heart on. Also, like a lot of these liberal brain people are like actually work in the media, and also like saying like K Hive, like yes queen, like all that shit, like literally treating politicians like they're celebrities.
Yeah. We love Rachel Maddow. We love Bill Maher. They own the libs. They own them.
All right, and then so Q brain, all conspiracies are valid and rolled into one giant nefarious plot.
Good.
Versus liberal mind, which is all conspiracies are automatically bad and false. Like 9/11 was definitely not an inside job. They literally just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like I have seen so many articles about conspiracy theories where literally there was one in the Atlantic just a few days ago that said that flat earthers and 9/11 truthers, they're the same. They're literally the same, according to the fake news media.
Doing them dirty. The failing New York Times.
God damn it. Like, and also the New York Times has made more money. They've had more subscribers than they have ever had in the history of the newspaper since Trump got elected.
Is that true?
Yes, I read it in Forbes today. Do you want me to link you to the story?
Yeah,
Twitter also.
No, don't worry, I'll do my research.
Twitter also, this is in 2018, they reported profits for 4 quarters in a row for the first time since it started.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Because we're all getting deranged from Trump.
Yeah. CNN also just raking in the cash. I mean, wasn't there a story about the CEO of CNN and how he like fucking loves Trump?
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
He's good for business.
He's his cash cow. That's a good one. I want to talk about that last Q brain, lib brain. Is like, yeah, again, the things that they were talking about as like the basis of why they can't trust the people in charge is they were talking about shit like Operation Mockingbird, where the CIA was like directly supplying scripts and disinformation for the American media to spread. They were talking about MK Ultra, when the CIA experimented on the American populace with mind control and LSD. They were talking about Operation Paperclip, where again the CIA snuck Nazi scientists into the United States under fake identities. And it's just like, these things are all true. They're declassified. They've admitted to these things.
Yes.
That is not a conspiracy. That is documented truth.
Exactly.
And it's sort of like where they take that, they take these points of information that are true information, and then they connect the dots with sheer lunacy. Like the idea that Trump is some sort of golden savior that's going to fight the pedophiles is insane. How can you look at him and think, anyway, not to get too far into that, but it's like, yeah, but lib brain is like, no, entirely credulous, like, the government works for us. It's all going to work out as long as we can vote the Cheeto out.
Yeah, just vote, and don't worry about how much money is being donated and put directly into certain people's pockets. Like, you're the enemy of the people if you don't vote.
That's true.
All right, and then last one that I have here is QAnon, like Epstein didn't kill himself versus the liberal, like Epstein is right-wing meme, which is just actually a part of the last point that I made.
That's true.
But I feel like if Democrats didn't try to avoid the whole Epstein thing, like, and also the media, if the media didn't like try to avoid it so hard, that maybe this also wouldn't have blown up as much. But
yeah, I think the whole Epstein thing definitely funneled a lot more people into QAnon, just because it was so blatant. It was such a blatant thing, and it's, again, I'm harping on it again and again and again. The ground for QAnon to bloom is mistrust of the classic authorities, and like Epstein just opened this sort of Pandora's box where it's just like, oh, this is all fucked, and they're blatant and they don't care.
yeah, literally just like stop lying to the people, and maybe the people won't go literally fucking insane because we've been gaslit for
Yeah,
years and years and years.
that was one of my notes I wrote down. Is, in a big way, what QAnon is sort of like the chickens coming home to roost,
Yeah.
of like all kinds of fucked up shit that the government has done. Like, they did just like all of those things I just listed that the CIA did. You know, the fact that a lot of people in the highest offices of power and stuff, as was revealed in Epstein, are involved somehow in like having sex with 16-year-olds, having sex with 14-year-olds. This like trafficking and exploitation of young girls. Is like, all of this is coming home to roost. Like, they're reaping what they've sown, and it is Q brain.
Yeah,
you can only sow so much mistrust before it blows up, and in a way, like, QAnon is an explosion of all of this like rightful mistrust. There's no reason to trust the American government. It's just a shame that it couldn't have been class consciousness. It had to be this other thing.
I know that. Yeah, and I was just gonna, I don't know, when you were just talking about all these fucking evil pedophiles, I just thought of Alan Dershowitz and like alleged pedophile.
Alleged pedophile.
And yeah, you know, these Harvard fucking people. Okay, anyway.
I mean, these things are right on the surface. Like, I talked to you before the show about Dan Schneider was like the major producer, one of the major producers of Nickelodeon. He produced The Amanda Show. He produced all that. He produced Drake and Josh. He produced iCarly. He's a fucking hit factory. He's also like open secret, a like notorious pedophile with this huge foot fetish. You can read all kinds of fucking accounts of people coming in and auditioning for him, and it's like, you take your shoes off and he tickles your feet. And it's like, he got real just when Me Too started. He was very quietly dismissed from Nickelodeon without much fanfare. Not much was said about it. It's rumored that part of the reason Amanda Bynes has gone off the deep end so far is because of how he abused her when she was young. There's a rumor, possibly open secret, that Jamie Lynn Spears, Britney Spears' younger sister, when she got pregnant and had to quit Zoe 101, it was Dan Schneider's baby, allegedly. This stuff is real. There's a truth to this. There is these things. Certain things are happening, but the answer, what they get wrong, what QAnon gets really wrong, is that the answer to most of these things isn't this epic battle of good versus evil, the angels and the devils. It's so much more banal. It's just power, and it's abuse of power, and it's pleasure, and it's money. And
it's the sick bourgeois mind. The sick, depraved bourgeois mind.
The horrible boredom that sets in from just being this sort of like having this unquestioned power over people, and the way that it warps your mind into like a sickness.
Yeah. So I have another list here, which is what QAnon and liberal brain have in common. And I'll just blow through this like pretty fast, I guess. Denial of class interests.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
Aversion to history.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, like Q people would never be like, oh, satanic panic, like let me do a quick Google search on this, or maybe see how this could perhaps be, you know, a rebrand of classic like anti-Semitism.
It's weird because they do have a sense of history in their way. It's very twisted, you know, like they read about World War II, and the person who made Fall of the Cabal is a Dutch lady, and she talks about how the Dutch royal family collaborated with the Nazis to help the Nazis invade the Netherlands. And it's like, yeah, it's probably true. It probably happened. A lot of the old royal families of Europe collaborated with the Nazis, including the English royal family. Whoopsie daisy.
Yeah. Well, so, and this, the next one here on the list is a denial of gray area. It's like, you're either good or you're evil.
Yeah.
And this is either 100% true or 100% false. There's no gray area, no being open to interpretation, no possibility that I could maybe be incorrect.
That's like Twitter leftist brain too, is no nuance, black or white.
Most people don't like to be wrong, and so they will literally do anything to protect our psyches. Next is the insistence that they are the most woke, which we already talked at the top of the show.
Their eyes are wide open.
The denial of the root of the problem, which could be, structural inequality or capitalism, things like that.
That old chestnut.
Hard-ons for the cops and the carceral state. Think they can change the world by posting.
Very good.
And an overinvestment in the symbolic order.
Yes, very good. Very good. I think that thinking they can change the world by posting is a very good and astute observation. I really like that.
Thank you.
Because that has become, like I was saying, is so much of Q is the spectator sport. You trust Trump to do it, but you kind of spread the information. But it's like, yeah, so much of like lib brain has become this like posting as activism mindset, right?
Yeah, how about we just sign this petition? Let's sign a petition saying that Israel is bad.
It's like posting is what you do on the internet. Activism is on the internet. That is like the proper field for activism is posting.
Yeah. God.
And it's just like you end up caught in the same cycle of just like endless repetition, little dopamine spikes, and ultimately complete ineffectiveness as our like future tech masters, like the real fascists to worry about, prepare to bowl us over with like their Boston Robotics drone dogs that are going to like put a bullet in your kneecap if you are late on your like air payment for clean air when the fires make it so you can't breathe outside without a subscription service. That's the dystopian future I foresee.
Yeah, well, as Elon Musk tweeted this week, what can't he predict? Everything. But yeah, so posting is like, I have to delete Instagram now because every time I open up Instagram and I see someone telling me to vote, I literally become so enraged.
Yeah.
That I then like spiral immediately.
I mean, spiral. That's why I like am shutting down Trash Pups, the page and stuff, is like I'm trying to log off. Like I want to escape because I'm as guilty of it as anyone, if not more so. Like I gave my organ to the monsters, to the sickos. I'm like trapped in the endless cycle of like the bad brain chemistry, and like I want out, and I'm trying my best to like put my feet on the ground and see what's in front of me instead of like disperse my organ to the fucking ether by like looking at my phone and getting pissed off at things I can't do anything about.
Yeah. I can't. I can't. I don't understand. Like, also, I'm just gonna say that like the liberal mind, and I think that this is like, honestly, for me, this is worse than Q, is that they think that they're gonna win the election by like blaming people or like shaming them into voting or talking to them as if they're like dumb babies. It literally infuriates me.
Yeah, like, QAnons would never scold you.
Yeah, like literally, like, what makes you think that you telling me that I'm a dumb baby for not voting makes me like want to go, oh yes, I want to go out and vote for Joe Biden. You have now inspired me to go vote for this man that I hate. Okay.
Fuck, you know, if you go out on a day when it's hot and you give a single water bottle to a single homeless person, you've already done more good than like hundreds of votes. That's it.
Yes.
Connect.
Yes.
Material
Yes.
good. Put your
Yes.
feet on the ground. Look in front of you. Look to the side.
Yes.
What can you do there?
Yes.
How can you help someone on that level? How do you protect the people that you love, the people around you that matter to you? What can you do to protect and help them? That's where to start. Stop posting. Yeah. Log the fuck off.
Get a dog.
Get a dog.
Can't recommend it enough. All right. Well, on that note, should we log off?
Well, I have one more point about QAnon that I want to bring out, and then I'm done. I've been reading recently. I've been getting into. Are you familiar with Aleister Crowley?
The name sounds familiar.
He was a famous English occultist at like the beginning of the 20th century. He created a system of thought called Thelema. He was a magician. He was like a magician. He popularized magic with K. But I've been reading him, and his point is that his definition of magic is just manipulating forces to bring the world into alignment with your will. So for Crowley, it's like, if I like think to myself, I want my weed pen, and I reach and grab it, now I have my weed pen, that was magic. That was an act of magic. If I want to get an idea across and I invoke the spell of writing a pamphlet, I use the magical tools of a publisher to disseminate the ideas, and thus, like, by disseminating these ideas, I create forces in line with my will in the world. I've created.
Are you saying that posting is a magic force?
Well, what I'm saying is, I think that QAnon and like the Q lore is powerful black magic. Like, someone like Hitler was like a powerful magician. He was able to like create forces in the world to align with his will. And there's something, because I woke up at 6:30 a.m. this morning to go to the doctor. I'm like very sleep deprived. I've been thinking so much about QAnon shit that it's all clicking to me that it's like these videos that people put out are spells, and the magic is being reaped as they create effects in the world. And more we're going to see the fruition of like where these magics lead.
Yeah, I think that any test or any proof of like a way of thinking to like prove that it's really robust is when you use that line of thinking like on itself, so like use this like good evil magic state like black magic type of thinking and QAnon brain to analyze QAnon brain, and we might just be onto something.
Yeah, I mean, because the question is, right, is how, I mean, this is just like how do we do counter magic, right? People are like, how do you stop Q? How do you stop QAnon? And like one thing people have tried is, I see videos that's like, fall of the cabal debunked. Boring, doesn't work. Fuck
never
that.
That's never gonna work. Like,
and then another thing I've seen is like, making fun of them isn't gonna work. It's just gonna make it worse.
Yeah.
People who have
they're like gonna double down on their beliefs.
Double down. You can't engage with debate. Doesn't actually work. You can't try and like argue someone out of QAnon. If we, on like a larger scale, if we want less people to get Q-pilled, we have to think about the seed in the ground, and we have to act at the level of the ground. That's where our magics have to be, is we have to create a material reality where people are less alienated. That's got to be the focus. because
The
stuff
line,
like
yeah.
the idea of like ban 8chan, deplatform these YouTube videos, it's a band-aid. It's only going to help so much because they're just going to find new ways. You know, instead of saying hashtag and QAnon on TikTok, they're going to say hashtag QAnoon, and it's just going to be like that forever.
It's literally trying to cut the head off a Hydra.
Yeah, it's fucking whack-a-mole. And what is a whack-a-mole machine? You're hitting these heads that are popping up, but you're completely ignoring that the mechanism is all below the table.
Yes.
Think about what's happening below the table. And I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. If you have someone who's Q-pilled in your life, maybe don't try and like de-pill them, but maybe just try and make sure that their form of pilling is benign. Hey, oh, that's interesting. That's crazy. That must be really scary for you. As long as they don't take an AK to a public place and fucking open fire or like hold people hostage until they release Hillary Clinton's email server, then that's maybe the best we can hope for.
Yeah.
We gotta stop the bleeding. Apply pressure before it gets worse.
Yeah, or like, how about like redirecting the energies, like meeting them halfway and acknowledging that they're at least half right.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we've highlighted some of the ways that like there are things maybe you could grab onto that's like, yeah, and that leads to this. Like, you know, maybe we should be doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm also talking out my ass. I don't know shit about nothing. I'm a very weak magician.
Well, you know, I feel better about QAnon after this, and yeah,
you know what?
It's good.
I had a good time with my friend Lana, and ultimately that's the real truth.
Yes. All right, well, stay trashy.
Stay trashy.
Well,